So this is a video I've actually been wanting to create for a while because I see it as frankly, a topic of frustration for both investors and agents. If you sort of step back and think about it, the investor thinks or might think that all the agents out there are to serve them. They get these big commission checks, and they should be bending over backwards and to serve them. And frankly, that's not how it should operate. And then the agents, on the other hand, because they've had so many people call in and, not to steal the thunder, but to waste their time or whatnot, they think all investors or wannabe investors or whatever they call us behind our backs is, just there to be an annoyance. So I thought I need to take time because I've been an investor for a long time and just recently passed the salesperson exam. So I thought, as someone on both sides, I could take a moment to sort of highlight how I think this working or mutual beneficial relationship should be working. So here we go. So we're going to talk about and really push the idea that no matter which side you're on, you need to at least appreciate the other side. Because if you don't and you just sort of react and sit on your side and throw stones at the other, it's not going to go anywhere. We're going to talk about what not to say or do. There's a couple of phrases that I've heard uttered hundreds of times that still sends chills down my back. So I'm just going to put it on paper and just hopefully make it something none of us say going forward. And then talk about how I recommend initiating the relationship for both sides. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So if I was the investor and I'm thinking about the agent, I think we need to appreciate a few things. First, a lot of us sort of think agents and then immediately think commission checks. And while that's true, the end product for the agent is a commission check. That is not something that the good agents or great agents or even the mediocre ones sort of think about, because that is so at the end of the cycle. It's difficult to plan for. What they are, or should be, in my opinion, is they should be guarding their time. Time, in my opinion, is their currency. Time is the thing that they need to spend on the most beneficial actions. And time is the things that they should save by, frankly, disqualifying out investors who are going to waste their time, right? So we need to appreciate that for agents, it's time. Not commission checks. We need to sort of stop that. That's kind of naive. The other thing you need to appreciate as an investor is that a lot of your peers have called because of this flipping show or that HGTV or that real estate seminar or whatever, and been just as full of energy as you are and passion and got the pre-approval letter and all these other things, only to waste time, right? To have time committed with zero return. And that's frankly, just something we need to appreciate, because there's been lots of investors before you. The other thing is, and I don't know why this is, but I've seen it. We as investors, we need to understand that loyalty is important. If you're working with an agent and they've spent time in all of that and helped you do something, if you go to an open house and just sign an offer with an agent that's just sitting there showing the house, you're not being loyal. You've just given a commission check to someone who's done nothing other than sit in a chair, and the person who drove you around or shopped the MLS for you or whatever you asked them to do got nothing. Loyalty is important in this for both sides, really. But really, I've seen investors, because again, time's the currency, not commission. Time. I've seen loyalty, be broken, and that's not great. The other thing is agents aren't paid to show property. They aren't even paid to write offers. They're not paid to negotiate. They're not paid to run inspections. They're not paid to do lots of different things. They're paid when the transaction closes. Right, so sometimes we think, oh, the agents, showed us 10 houses today. That's what they're paid for. Well, not really, right? If they could and they can work with an investor who's going to look at one property and buy and close it, versus you seeing 10 and, doing nothing, guess what? They'd rather work with the person who's going to look at one and close versus, 10 and do nothing. And the last one is, and you'll see this theme throughout because it's the thing that bothers me, is agents aren't paid to find you deals. Frankly, they're not even supposed to sort of say it's a deal, right? They're not supposed to talk financing or legal or any of these other things. That's not their job. That's not in their description. It's frankly against the law or against the ethics of the real estate exam, and they can be deactivated or whatever that's called if they did that. So don't ask them to do that. So agents to investors now. Yes, there's lots of very excited people in this HGTV flipping world. Um, I don't know what the ratio is, but of the dozens and dozens of people that call you, I would tell you there's a couple of legit investors in there, right? People that are going to be in it for the long term. I think the key is to treat everybody equal, as hard as it is on that first contact, and then figure out the way to filter out the ones that are going to waste your time. The key is not, I've seen it, and I've been an investor for 15 years, and I've called on new agents regularly. And there are just some that hear the word investor and immediately turn off. And I don't know what it is, but probably done 100 transactions over 15 years. So that agent lost a legit buyer because the last investor they had burned them. I know it's hard. I know it's tough. But the best you can, treat that investor phone call, that first contact, as equal as possible. And then figure out your 1, 2, 3 questions to figure out if they're legit or not. And if they're not, flush it, right? That's what you do, right? Time is your currency. But figure out the ones to try to do a better job of finding the legit ones. And then what you're trying to figure out is, what is an investor looking for, right? I call it a deal here, but really, what are they looking for, right? Are they a house buyer? Are they a multifamily buyer? Are they buying distressed? Are they buying Class A, right? Try to figure out the variables that you know all too well, that when that investor says it's a deal, it sort of meets this criteria. Now, all of them aren't going to work and all of that. But if you can just figure out a way to reduce the entire available, MLS listings to 20%, you've done yourself a favor and you've done that investor a favor. And you are, helping them sort of narrow in on opportunities. So I think these are things that we both need to appreciate, whether you're on the investor or on the agent side. So here we go. This is the one that is a big bugaboo for me. When an investor says to an agent, find me a deal and I'll buy it. So we've already talked about earlier, that's not how it works. No one's, at least that's licensed, is going to say this is a deal and this is that or this is this. Right? They'll certainly tell you facts. Right? That's a cap rate of this or a gross rent of that. But I've never met an agent that's going to go, this is a deal because it's X, Y, or Z. Right? They're going to present the facts. It really goes against their code and their ethics to say this is a deal, because that's a subjective thing, and that's not okay for them to do. Frankly, if they found a deal, if they found a real deal, they should just buy it, right? If that's if it's one of those things. So don't do that. And frankly, investors, don't tell that to other investors. I've had many investors call me and go, hey, if you ever find a deal that you pass on, call me. Well, guess what? If it's a deal, I'm going to buy it. I don't pass on deals. So we need to take this out of our, sayings. The other thing I've seen is a lot of these new and excited investors sort of just come in and just start bragging about this or that. Right? I've got X thousands of dollars. I've got X approval letter. I've got X credit line. Again, so what? Right? Until you've done something, until you proved you can execute, you're just like the person with a pre-approval letter or whatever, right? You've done nothing, right? You're just as likely and probably more likely in the agent's mind to waste their time because they've seen it before, right? You might be all over the board. Oh, I have so much, I can do this, I can do that, and I can do this, and I can do that, and then pretty soon you're just tied in knots and doing nothing, right? So it's if asked, it's fair to say what you have, but just don't be arrogant, don't brag, don't lead with, hey, my name is Mike Zuber and I have blah 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 and I want to buy some deals. That's never a good look. Now, agents to investors, don't treat that current caller like the last investor who proved to be a flake. I know it's hard. I've been in sales for a long time and we've all been burned. and we've been probably burned more than we've had success. But the key to the next success is being able to quickly, first, treat everybody the same, and then quickly filter out the ones that you believe are going to be worth your time, because again, that's your constraint, and flush the other ones. Flushing someone who's going to waste your time is totally okay, and it should happen. But don't burn a solid investor by treating them like a flake, right? That the flake that just wastes your time. I know it's hard, but I think it's important for you in your future commission checks. So these are some things that I recommend to initiate the relationship. I would recommend an investor, when they're calling an agent, call about a specific property. I found this property at so-and-so address or this MLS number. I like it because of this, that, or the other, or I have a question about this, that, or the other. When you call informed, the conversation just starts better because you start speaking the same language. You start talking about a unit of work that makes sense, right? Everybody's on the same page, as opposed to, hey, my name is Mike Zuber. I've got $100,000 and I want to buy something. What's the agent going to do? Send you the entire MLS? I mean, you know nothing, right? That neither party has been helpful. So investors, I would always call on a property. It doesn't necessarily need to be a property you want to offer on, but it's a property that is close to what you're looking for and you think it might be something. That is so much more efficient and a much better conversation. So agents to investors, the sooner that you can figure out what that investor calls a deal looks like in the buyer's mind, the closer you are to at least an offer. Right. And again, I know we don't talk about deals and we don't say it's a deal, but you got to realize that the investors speak, they're talking deal. So you're trying to figure out what their criteria is, what they're looking for. You're trying to take the MLS or the entire available inventory and shrink it. You're trying to say, okay, if this is what you're looking for and this is what you're looking for, this means you're not looking for this, you're not looking for that. And you're going to take an MLS just fictitiously that has 1,000 listings. And you're going to say, hey, these are the 117 that seem to meet your criteria. Take a look, right? And again, I'm just making these numbers up, but you get the idea, right? So those are the things that I think are important. Again, I speak from the investor side in that example. And then again, right, I think it's important for both parties to appreciate that time is the constraint and currency for both of you. I talked earlier on about time being the constraint for the real estate agents, but it's just as important to realize that time for the investor is also likely a constraint, because likely they have a full-time job, they have family commitments, and they're doing this as a, side project or a side thing. So realize and appreciate that time is a factor on both your sides. When you do that, I think respect is built, and you're all in much, much better shape. In the end, I hope you like that. Do me a favor, I'll hit the like button if you did. Leave a comment or question below. I'd really appreciate it if you shared this video, especially if you're an agent or if you are an investor. Share it with your network. We need to get the subscriber count up. We seem to be stuck on 102. I have 898 left to go to hit the goal. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, there's my email at the bottom there, mzuber@onerental@a-time. Have a great day.